Okay, I have 7 o'clock. We will go ahead and call this meeting of the council to order for October 6th. Seth, will you lead us in the pledge? Sure.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve, will you lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Heavenly Father, we are grateful to be able to come before you and just conduct business on behalf of our community. Just ask it you give us wisdom and discernment in all the decisions we will make, and just keep all of our first responders, our healthcare workers safe, and all those in our community. Just watch over us, give us wisdom, and thank you for this evening that we could be here tonight. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. I jumped off of a combine, so I have a goal to be done fast today, so I hope we can do that. I assume everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the September meeting. Did anyone have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion's made, is there a second? Second, those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. I'm keeping you guessing today. Okay, so minutes are good. Okay, we had transfers. I assume everybody got a look at those. I had mentioned that people don't need to attend for those unless someone had a specific question about them. Does anyone have any issues with the additionals as they were presented? And the transfers, I plead a little ignorance to it. I've been outside, so I've not been actively looking at these. Did anyone have any comments or questions on the transfers? There's the sheriff, surveyor, extension, election board, commissioners, and Hume Bridge. Oh, that's why you're here, right, Nate? You've got an additional for Bridge.
The additions.
Okay, oh, for the additional, okay. So were there any questions on the transfers? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the transfers as they're presented?
So moved.
Vicki made motion, and Todd seconded. Those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0, motion carries. Okay, now, on the additionals, we have a bridge, 106, right?
Yes.
Okay, 2 minutes, Nate, what do you got?
All right. I'll give you
You're here, I think you wanted to talk about it.
All right. Yes, well, I want to make sure that I'm prepared for that as best I can. do.
Sure.
Yes, this one, unfortunately, it's the nature of how we funded this bridge project, because we funded it out of the rainy day fund. So when it gets budgeted, I don't always see that, and so we did this exact same conversation in 2019, and we're going to do it again here.
Okay.
And so that's why in the letter that I sent out, you actually see kind of an estimate of what I'm projecting for 21 and 22. The Bridge 106, that federal aid project is scheduled for letting or bidding in November of 22. So this gives you a pretty good indication of what we're going to see from engineering and right-of-way purchasing work over that 3-year period. The remainder for this year, or for this year's amounts. And what you're seeing is the total and then the local match. So the total is what we're planning on spending, but all of that is 80% reimbursable. So really our local match is what we're going to be spending. We just need to earmark. We need to earmark that dollar amount, the $87,000. Really, you're only going to be spending $17,400 in this year.
Where is that bridge anyway?
This is the one in Rockford, just outside of Rockford.
Okay.
Yeah, this is that historic select. The project, as far as design, probably is a little bit behind schedule, just because I've been dragging my feet as far as the design. I wasn't really satisfied with the direction we're going, because it's historic select.
And that had
protected.
floodway, I believe, too.
Yes, and so we've been fighting on that, so I've been trying to get as much of that opened up as we can. So I think we've got a decent middle ground for it. It wasn't everything that I had wanted for the project, obviously, but at the end of the day, it's a cost savings, and because it's protected, I didn't have much more flexibility. So I took as much time as I can fighting for what I thought was the right thing for that project, and we need to stay on schedule. So,
Okay.
but that's the intent, and that's why I put this letter together. So when we go for budgeting for 21 and 22, we need to make sure that those dollar amounts are protected. Then it'll bid, then we'll decide what we need to put aside for that amount for 2023. So
Help me out again, where's the money come, which?
this one was, this project, when we started this one and allocated the funds, the letter was to use the If we remember, we gotta go all the way back to the first $1 million we set aside from the rainy day amount. That's what we had been moving. And so when we made the commitment for this project at the beginning, that 20% was coming from that amount. So that was the intent for that. So that's why this is a problem, is because it's not King Bridge, it's not lit, it's this rainy day amount, and because the project's so many years long and spread out, it's just kind of falling through the cracks on a paperwork standpoint.
So the 87, is that coming from rainy day or general? It'd be coming from rainy day.
It'd be coming from
Oh,
rainy day.
okay.
That was the rainy day. That
The
was
1740 will be
Yeah,
for this.
essentially
one.
From rainy-
1740.
From rainy day
Yeah.
too, right? It's not in our line where, the additional purpose where it's coming from, that's why I was curious of it. On the front sheet, usually it explains where it comes from. Where it says highway bridge on your additional appropriation sheet.
Oh, on the 20.
Yeah,
on
just
this
typically, usually there's-
2025,
yeah.
205.
Just shows the 87,000, that's why I just wanted to.
There's a budget code, what is it, 8115?
That's bridges.
Oh, that's
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 Okay.
Bridge
That's what's
106.
going.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know where all of them, yeah.
Yeah, so it's unfortunately, yeah, I didn't think we had this situation. Hopefully we won't do it again, but we'll see. Thankfully, I don't think we're going to be doing too many of these projects this way. It's hopefully the intent of the Cume Bridge Fund to be set up to do
That's right.
exactly that.
Which it
And
should
so
be
the
able
money-
to do
that's-
that
that's
for
the
the next
intent.
round of budgeting, true?
Yes, and
Okay,
so when we
so-
did the budgeting, those projects, the federal aid numbers and such are all tied to that. So we
Okay.
start to create those accounts and continue to put money into those.
So for the local match for 2021, in theory, it would come out of the Cume Bridge Fund?
This one is set up.
It's totally- this whole project
The
has to
intent
be
was to
this
be
way.
coming out that way.
Okay.
That was the intent.
All right.
So that's the goal, and as we've been doing other projects and applications, I've been trying to earmark Cume Bridge funds or maybe potentially lit funds. The biggest concern is that as we get more successful with each grant round, it starts tying up future Cume Bridge money or lit money,
Sure.
and there's going to be a certain limit to what that could push out, because you are looking at projects over a 5-year period, so they start to build up over a while. So,
Okay. All right, well, does anyone have any other questions on this particular issue? If not, do we have a motion to approve this additional as it's presented?
Make a motion.
Jim's motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a second, Todd second, those in favor, raise your right hand. 7. Okay, motion carries.
We're good.
Thanks, Nate.
All right, thanks
Hey,
so
you
much.
did 2 minutes, good job. All right, so, Sheriff.
Evening.
Good evening.
I have a lot to cover. I just wanted to see his reaction.
I've got a goal.
As of when I left work, we have 74 inmates total in jail. 24 of those are pretrial superior, 19 pretrial circuit, 19 F6, and 4 DOC is where we're sitting currently.
How many do you see?
4. Handed out the monthly report of activity for September. Obviously, our average daily population has been on the rise here the last month or two. I think a lot of things are starting to catch up, and we're seeing those numbers. We were down in the 50s there for a while when we were in about 2 months ago, and that number's steadily been climbing. We are still not arresting misdemeanors. Those are being summoned into court with the exception of a few misdemeanor crimes, so that has not changed, but the numbers are still up a bit from there. Also report the generated income in there. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Unless anybody's got any questions there, I will move on. The only other thing I really have, I wanted to focus on, I know Lisa had at some point to bring it up, I'm gonna ask her to bring it up now, is we've been, since the government issued CARES Act money, I've been utilizing that amongst other departments have been utilizing the CARES Act funds that were allocated to Wells County. I've purchased things such as a body scanner, things I've brought up to you guys in the past, different equipment through that. That funding was to be used by the end of the year. There's been some changes to that funding, but I know currently I have about 5 projects that were in the works to be used for reimbursement. It had been running pretty smoothly. We would get it approved, we would allocate the funds, and the auditor would send it through, and we'd get reimbursed pretty quick, right, within a week usually. So that was typically, I think the commissioners pegged Barnes and Thornburg to be the firm that would kind of track those things for us and give us the approval and the not approval. But now it has changed. There's an amendment to the CARES Act funding and what they chose to do, and I can
Yeah,
let
you could never use payroll. You could never use payroll. It was just all projects, as he was talking about. And so they changed it that you could use public safety personnel. I think they just wanted everything buttoned up sooner.
So what did Wells County actually get allocated total? Wasn't it close to
900 and
900,000?
some thousand.
Yes,
And we've allocated, when we've used 600 or so?
we had used 303,000.
Okay.
And not including everything outstanding. And so I did jail and sheriff's department payroll, and the
Sure.
commissioners allowed me to send that in. I sent it in yesterday, and I've got approval, and we'll have a check for $612,055.06 next
Wow.
week.
That's impressive.
And then we'll take those funds, put them in the general fund. But
But
to get, like Scott, his outstanding projects, to get those funded, he'll have to come to you in November and ask for an additional appropriation.
And do you know how many dollars you're looking to spend for the 5 projects, roughly, or that's not known?
it's going to be somewhere about 100 and some thousand.
Okay, so,
Um,
but you used it for the payroll and they approved it, so that's.
Yeah,
right.
so the easiest thing to do was you could go back and for public safety and get reimbursed for the payroll, which was more than what we were going to have left anyways.
Right.
So her turning that in allows us to basically empty the pot.
Right,
It goes into the general fund. Before, the restriction was it had to be COVID related, something that would prevent the spread of COVID. That was the restriction.
And
that's
it
what-
couldn't be an already budgeted item. Like,
Correct.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I guess what I'm bringing up to you guys and gal is that we need to, it kind of makes it a little bit harder on our end because now we have to follow the guidelines as far as appropriations. I have projects I was ready to go the green light on. I mean, I had already sent one to Lisa that was going to get approved, and usually we give the green light. We order stuff. Some stuff is out of ways, so this pushes me out into the November now, and because it's going to have to be handled through a vote through the council, this is going to slow me down on the things that I want to do and push everything out. And I guess what I'm asking, and I don't know if this is possible, but really in all reality, yes, it's money that's going to the general fund. To me, I'd have to get an additional appropriation for each project, but I would like to move on these things. I will still go through the process of, and I'm not going to have to pay the bill right away. And, you know, the projects I have in play right now is I'm adding additional cameras to our jail for the quarantine blocks that we got allocated for what we're doing there because we're treating those basically as medical observation cells. So there's a project there for about $20,000. We're working on a new system for the jail and both courts for this video court system. So there's some money there, about $60,000 to get both courts going and the jail, which would basically really cut down on our movement of inmates and taking them outside of the facility and all those other things. I had another project with the American Ultraviolet to order some equipment to help disinfect cell blocks through the UV lighting, which is what medical facilities use, and there was about $18,000 there. We also had some things that I don't have the complete cost for. We have some dispensers and hand sanitizer things throughout the jail that were ordered, but those are back ordered. I haven't gotten the bill for those yet. And I know I'm missing one here. Oh, we were working with, and to kind of keep you guys up to speed, we were looking at the possibility in the end of this of having about $400,000 to $500,000 unspent.
Right.
Had they not made this amendment, we were looking at that avenue. So working with the commissioners, we had made contact with an architecture firm to come down to look at our intake, to talk about remodeling the intake in our jail to add additional isolation cells, which is what we lack in a jail our size to be able to deal with this whole COVID stuff. Our jail currently has 3 medical observation cells. 2 of them are occupied right now by what we call a permanent resident. Until they either go to prison or they get out, they're not fit to go into general population. So they take up 2 of the 3 that we have now. So I will have a bill for their work, whether we move forward with any of that work. We were looking at trying to use, we didn't want to give the money back either, so we were looking at allocating, if we could, the remainder of the funds that were unspent towards that. So right now, we were just at a planning stage. I met with them today. I asked them for a bill to this point for their services, which would be covered the old way under the CARES Act, because it was all related to designing things and basically a remodel of our intake area, which is very small. So, and converting our current Sally Port into more space and more cells for that purpose. So looking at those things here, I'm looking at about 100 and some thousand for the current projects I had going. I guess you can tell me how you want to handle it. I mean, this got dropped on your guys' lap. The thing now is there's no restrictions of what it can be spent for. The projects I have in play are all COVID related, and I don't think that there would be any dispute about what they would be used for, and that's why I'm bringing up what those projects are. And I guess I'm just asking for permission to continue moving forward like I did, and I will get the appropriations put in by next Wednesday by the deadline and those type of things. So,
And the thought is, if we don't use the money, the state will probably just take it back at the end of the day.
well,
right?
not
At the end
now,
of the year.
because
It's
she turned it in for payroll, but now it's gonna go in the general fund.
So we would reallocate it
we
in a
just need-
sense. Instead of it as a payroll, it would be an
Right.
additional.
So you
And-
just want a blessing from us as we go forward here. to make
Yeah,
sure
I don't wanna-
appropriations are covered.
The way it worked before is it was a reimbursement, and we had to pay for it out of our current budget, and then we got it reimbursed like within a week.
Sure.
But we're at the end of the year, a lot of our budget line items are low, and so it usually, by the time we ordered it, she was already getting reimbursement before I even got an invoice for
Because as
it.
soon as they could get a bill, I'd fill out the claim and send it in. So while it was coming through claims.
I just didn't want it to be, now that it's no longer under the commissioners and it's under the council, that I move forward with a $20,000 project, and then all of a sudden, somebody has an issue with it, and then, I pay for it somewhere out of my budget, and then the council says.
And
"No, we're not."
Bobby's in the same situation. She has like 50,000. She's the drinking fountains. She's gonna all bottle, and the guy that's gonna work on it is 4 or 5 weeks out. So
Sure.
she hasn't gotten billed for a lot of her things either. She's already got her additional appropriation filled out for next month because.
Well, I guess I can speak for myself. I don't have an issue with it personally, because at the end of the day, these allocations were for this very purpose.
Sure.
So being utilized that way seems appropriate.
Okay.
I'm on board with that same.
My only question would be, are there other things that, like you said, you just mentioned?
Right. I ordered 2 computers, but I think my budget can handle that.
Okay.
Jared ordered a computer. He said he can't absorb that, so he'll come to you for a computer.
As long as it all fits within.
Right.
Within that
Right.
600,000.
Lisa,
Right.
do we need to actually appropriate the dollar amount through vote? I mean, we can give our blessing here, but
Eventually we'd have.
we eventually will have to.
You'll have to,
Yes,
because
it'll
come
be
to
in
you as
November,
an
yeah.
additional
So you're just wanting our word right now to
Yes.
say that we will.
I don't want to
reimburse.
wait till November.
We appreciate you bringing it ahead.
Yeah, because I was wondering.
Yeah, this
if
was
you
just
would-
dropped in my lap
Sure,
too.
no problem.
As soon as she found out, she told me right away, because I was turning in receipts to her bills, and she said, time out, because
Sure.
they just made an amendment to it.
But is there a way, because being we meet once a month, is there a way to appropriate a dollar amount to the sheriff's department? That he can
No,
use
'cause
that money as it comes in?
Oh,
It has to be advertised.
yes, it has to be advertised. I mean, he,
So the legalities of it,
Okay.
formalities of it.
I don't-
I'm talking about an easy way to do it, that's not.
His additional.
you have pretty
to get
much
those money
what
back,
it's gonna be.
600,000 on general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the architecture bill's gonna be,
Yeah.
because I just met with them today, but I know what most of them are gonna be. So, other than that one, I know what they're gonna be. And there's gonna be, what I have in play and what Lisa knows of, that from the other departments, is not even gonna exceed what we
Right.
just got back.
Right.
So that's not an issue. So the issue of having enough money to cover the current projects is not a problem.
Okay.
I had a plan in play to use up the rest so it didn't go back,
Sure.
that it would be utilized towards COVID at the jail. that's still up in the air on what we do there. So there will be funds to still decide on. But the nice thing is the deadline was the end of the year. Now it's not going to be. It's by
Right.
the end of the year, it's just going to be retained back into the general fund.
Sure.
Uh,
Well,
As a surplus.
it's in a way money that was for this very purpose.
And I don't think, I think there's only one, the UV lighting, they require 40% down for the order, but just due to the cost of them. And obviously I can pay that out of a fund, which then would be appropriated back in November, so.
That was fun.
I think everyone's in compliance here and content with that, so I don't think it's an issue. So,
Sheriff, out of curiosity with the intake, how much did you say that was allocated to redo the intake?
Well, we were looking at, when we brought the architecture firm in, we were saying, we kind of pitched them some ideas and said, you know, obviously, they're the ones that can put pen to paper, but we were saying, we're looking at having X amount of dollars left over in CARES Act money by the end of the year. They drew up a whole plan on everything that we looked at so that we at least had some options to scale back. If you threw everything in, they were looking at, just a rough estimate was about $1.5 million today that they told me. So now that can be scaled back based on if we chose to decide on that. And that's what I'm going to work with the commissioners to see what they want to do moving forward. I think long-term, if 9/11 changed the way we did things in airports and everything else, and that never went away, I don't know what the long-term effects that COVID's going to have on jails throughout the state. And people like us that have smaller jails, we weren't in a big issue before housing F6s, and we weren't in a big situation before COVID. We were there towards the top, but this has kind of made things very difficult for us on how we do new intakes and how we try to keep our general population safe, from bringing COVID into the jail. So we have to look at it that way. I don't think that it's going to go away right away, and it's long overdue. This jail was built in '86, and I think back then we were housing 30 to 40. Actually, we have 94 allocated beds in our facility, but it was actually half of that in '86 because they didn't double bunk inmates in cells. They only had one bed in each cell. And shortly after construction, I don't know when, but they went to 2. They did an upper bunk and a lower bunk in the cells, so it kind of to add more space. But it was not allocated at that time, especially with the way we have to intake people now for that volume. I mean, we had 10 intakes in one day, so you tell me how you keep those people that can't bond out quarantined and away from your general population. It puts us in a situation, potential lawsuits down the road, because we do. It's a chess match every day of how we house people and how we move people, where we put them, how we test them, and those type of things. So it's a constant battle. So early on in COVID, when we started realizing this, we're like, we got to look at some options here. And we don't use our Sally Port very often. Usually, unless it's downpouring, our guys don't pull their cars in there. So it was just underutilized space. And we thought, what if we converted our intake and made that bigger and added more, isolation cells for medical and those type of things to allow us to have that freedom to have that. We're utilizing cell blocks right now. If we went back to normal today, it would be impossible because, and when I say normal, if we just started arresting every arrestable offense, we have 2 blocks out of 9 that are allocated for quarantine blocks. So that's hard to do. And we actually have some inmates housed in another county because we didn't have the room based on what we have allocated for that. So luckily we're incurring no costs. We all work together quite well, and the county has agreed to hold them for me for a while until I can free up a little bit of space. So he knows that someday.
If you had to guess for the sheriff, how long is the life left on that jail?
I think it's the bones of it are very good. I think if anything, at some point, it's just going to be, if they keep changing things and we have to house more and more inmates at a local level. That was the whole F6 thing. I mean, if you look at my numbers today, I have 19 F6 people in my jail, which a couple of years ago should be in prison. They shouldn't be in the county jails. So there's 20 people almost right there out of my numbers. If I didn't, today I'd be at 54. if it wasn't for that. So, and a lot of jails deal with the same thing. The prisons were overpopulated, that's why they went to it, and to start housing those locally. They did, but they put a lot of strain, and if you look at how many jails in the state are building new jails because of that alone. So it's really driven on size, not based on, you know, you guys have always funded and taken care of what's needed done for the jail. You know, so when people come in and I'm working with these companies, they're usually fairly impressed about, for the jail being the age that it is, that, you know, the equipment that's in it and those type of things are in good shape and have been taken care of. So, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, the idea would be, because you've heard rumblings about that jail at some point needing to be replaced, you'd hate to see 5-6 years from now, but we put $1.5 million into. Now, there's money that's gotta be
If you
used,
want-
which also makes it even worse, we gotta use money to spend
Yeah,
money.
if you want my
everybody.
personal opinion, I don't
Yeah.
think we need a new jail. I think we just
That's
need
good,
more
yeah.
space.
That was the answer I was.
Yeah,
looking for.
I would rather see us use current infrastructure and add on to it than I would seeing a brand new jail.
So make what we have better.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's, I think we have, the property, we have the space that we could, if we had to someday add more beds to the jail. I would rather see that than a brand new jail,
Good.
so.
Thank
The
you.
$1.5 million you're referring to, was that an architectural quote? Or,
Well, they worked with a particular construction company that they normally use to build their jails. Because I told them, I said, I need a rough number, because I got to even know if this is even possible or not. And so this was a couple weeks ago. They worked with a construction company that normally does their jail. They gave him the drawing and everything that they did, and he's basically, there is some fluff in that. Even the architect said that today, that he thought the numbers were high. But they're looking at it and saying, yeah, I mean, there's, and as you're aware, Amoresco is the other company doing the feasibility study on the roof and the HVAC system for our jail, which started long before this. But so those two have been working together so that they don't overlap stuff. Yeah, it's definitely it's something that needs to be done, I think, eventually. But so
Definitely a possibility of scaling
Yeah.
it back some.
yeah, he thinks
From a
that
cost standpoint,
yeah, he
not
thinks
necessarily what you want.
there's some fluff there. But you know, I mean, if we did have $400,000 or $500,000 left over that was allocated towards that, it would definitely cut that cost in half. But we do need a new roof down the road here, and we do need a new HVAC system
Right.
in there. So I don't want it to deter those things, but this is important too. I just hate that they're both going on at the same time. COVID kind of just forced us into this avenue.
Sure.
So,
Okay, well, does anyone have anything else for the sheriff? Thank you, sir.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Okay, we have our 2021 budget adoption. We have 3 ordinance resolutions that we need to pass. So I guess we can just, did anyone have any comment or question or change or addition to the budgets as we put them together? There's already been a hearing, so I think we're just down to a motion to approve them at this point, correct? So the Wells County budget, it's got ordinance number 2020-16. If I can get a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-16, the Wells County budget.
I'll second it.
Chuck's made a second. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. 7 up. Okay, and then next is the Wells County Solid Waste District's budget, and that one is resolution number 2020-17. Can I get a motion to approve that budget?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 2020-17.
Okay, motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Steve, second. Those in favor, right hand. Motion carries 7-0. And then last, the Rock Creek Conservancy budget is 2020-18. Can I get a motion to approve that budget?
I'll make a motion to accept the Rock Creek Conservancy Resolution
Motion been
2020.
made. Is there a second? Jim's made a second. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Budget adoption is complete. Other business miscellaneous.
Didn't really have anything.
Perfect.
Yay.
Okay, so does anyone have anything else to add? Anything from the audience? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Vicky, second. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Perfect.